Welcome back, folks. The Republican field for president expands as Carly Fiorina, Dr. Ben Carson, Mike Huckabee are in. Bobby Jindal, Scott Walker, Bush, Graham, and Perry are set to jump in soon, and maybe Christie as well. It's going to be a crowded field. Finally, some Democrats contend the Queen. Socialist Bernie Sanders, who doesn't hide who he is, and former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, almost all of them have their eyes on the Fauxahontas, Elizabeth Warren. It's going to be a very crowded Republican field.
I think it's so stupid, it's almost hard for me to comment on it. I go back to the days of the smoke-filled lobby. You know, when guys, the party leaders, with their big black cigars, puffing
and there was 2 or 3 guys that were talked about.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Who was
and then it came out. I remember in as late as 1952, when Eisenhower was nominated, it was between Eisenhower and Taft, and there was Dewey was in there. So, but they worked it out internally. There might have been some arguments going on, but it wasn't made public. Now, this is ridiculous. The Republicans seem to have a death wish, because what you're doing is whatever money is being spent, there's huge amounts of money going around, and you've got all these guys trying to get some money from everybody. And instead of saying, listen, it's important that we get the White House. It's going to be tough enough as it is. Let's get together. Let's work it out quietly, without any press, without anybody there, and let's come out with a nominee right there. Do your fighting against your enemy, not among yourselves.
And all you really do is you give fodder to the Democrats, because you've come up with all these different sleazy ad campaigns against each other.
Sure, it's like you might as well be standing in a circle with a gun and shooting at each other, and they're all going to drop dead, and maybe one person survives.
And now here's the next thing. If Rance or whatever you say his name, Priebus, is stupid enough to allow George Stephanopoulos, Candy Crowley, Anderson Cooper, all on and on and on to debate moderate the Republican debates, they don't deserve to win, in my opinion.
Well, he didn't, as we discussed previously, he was not involved in the last campaign. That was Michael Steele, who was really, as we both deduced, was really a Democrat in Republican clothing.
Because I don't think you're going to see Rush Limbaugh or Mark Levin or Bill O'Reilly moderating any Democrat debates, do you?
No, because the media wouldn't permit it.
Then the Democrat Party wouldn't permit it.
Yeah.
They're smarter than that.
Yeah, but the media is in the pocket of the Democratic Party.
Of course.
The only one that would probably go along with it would be Fox.
And I think Rick Perry, I heard him speak last week. I think he's going to be a lot stronger candidate than people think, and I don't think people are looking at him as being a front runner.
Because he made a mistake the last time around.
And he's paid 4 years of homage to try and figure this out. I also think, and I've said this months ago, Carly Fiorina is going to come on much stronger than anybody will give her credit for.
Well, she's already made a good name for herself in Iowa. She came on like gangbusters. And
I've also said in the past that Hillary Clinton's not going to make it. I still don't think that she will, even though it looks like it's inevitable. You got the Benghazi, you've got the emails, you've got the Clinton cash scandal.
The polls are showing that her positives are melting away, and you can't trust polls anymore the way we used to. But there's no question that more and more people are beginning to have second thoughts about her as a nominee and a subsequent president of the United States.
You want an interesting tidbit here? 20 years ago, Bill Clinton predicted that Martin O'Malley would one day be president. And that story is just starting to come out. I think that's interesting.
What's the big deal about O'Malley?
He just thought he had the charisma. He thought he had the looks. He thought he had the political
outside
savvy.
Of Maryland, I don't think he's that well known.
No, and if you do go back to Maryland, look at the problems that we've just encountered in Maryland.
I know.
That can't bode well for you. Scott Walker hasn't denounced yet either. I think he's going to be a very strong candidate. He's been in Wisconsin fighting the Democrats, fighting the unions, and winning, and balancing the budget and lowering taxes. And like we talked about earlier, Christie made a comment that the next president has to be an executive, has to have some governing experience.
More specifically, he said has had to have been a governor, which of course he was, and I agree with that. I think a one-term senator has a lot of things going against him as far as experience and knowing how to handle things.
Right.
Governor,
you can give great speeches, but you got to be able to have a budget. You have a military,
well, it's like being a
National Guard.
You know, if you're going to be in business, show me your experience in business. Coming into business without having any experience means you've got a pretty good chance of failing.
And I think it's interesting that Sean Hannity lately has been on his radio show. He has liberals come on, and he asks them, give me 3 achievements, accomplishments from Hillary Clinton in her entire life. And every single one of them stammers and stumbles and has a very hard time. Well, she was Secretary of State. No, give me an accomplishment, an achievement. They can't. It's very difficult.
Well, did she talk about Vincent Foster?
Well, they didn't talk about any of the skeletons in the closet yet. That hasn't come out. So we're going to have a very packed field on the Republican side.
I think I find that objectionable to the nth degree.
And how do you have a debate with 16 people on the stage? How's it even possible?
Well, it'll be done again the way they did last time. They're going to work.
Whittle it down?
I don't know how they're going to. I think nobody seems to have the guts to say this is committing political suicide. For God's sake, let's get the press out of the thing. Let's sit down. Let's have a meeting on top of Mount Olympus or wherever, and let's come out with 1 or 2 guys, and then let's make up our mind at that point. If they want to win, if the Republicans really want to win, that's what they would do.
Maybe they don't. But I was very close to Newt Gingrich and his team. He's got a big team. And there's a lot of money to be made running for president. That's how you get the speaking gigs. That's how you get the Fox News shows. That's how you become the...
That's not why you're having the nominations. You're having them in order to have a candidate, and this is not a way of having the final candidate. Can you imagine somebody running a business? 20 guys will say, I want to be president, I want to be chief executive, and they start arguing with each other. Everybody would laugh them out of town.
Who do you think at this point has the advantage?
What particular person?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even venture a guess at this
I can
point.
tell you who has the money advantage right now.
Yeah, Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
Well, certainly.
And that's why he hasn't declared, because once he declares, then it changes how your accounting works. So he's collecting all kinds of money through his super PAC right now that will basically be used against fellow Republicans.
No, you know, and I think the polls are right when you see 13%, 12%. I'm surprised that Mike Huckabee hasn't shown up any better than he has so far. I thought with that few years of shows and very popular, well-spoken, he really refurbished his image beautifully, and you hardly hear about him.
He doesn't have the X factor. He's
sure
too
doesn't.
boring. He's too milquetoast, if you know what I mean.
I don't think it's so milquetoast. I think he has certain sayings that he has. You're right. I mean, he doesn't.
He's too aw shucks.
Yeah.
If that's a way to put it.
Yeah, he comes across a little provincial.
Yes. He's going to get some of the evangelical vote. He's going to get some of the deep religious vote. There's no question about that. And I think that that's a problem for any of these front runners, is trying to
probably
secure
has
that.
an excellent foreign policy background, but you're right. He doesn't have that zing that gets people excited. You have to excite passion. You got people. You know, Rubio, I think, is not ready.
Right.
He's not a finished product.
Right.
But he does. You know what he reminds?
He doesn't have to be. He's a young guy.
He looks and acts Kennedy-esque.
And he's got the Hispanic background. He's got the Cuban heritage, and the parents. And he also comes from Florida, which is one of the most important states for a Republican if you want to win the White House. Because you're already given up California, New York, Illinois, New Jersey, on and on. So we'll see.